with all the buzzword going around AI, what does it exactly mean for Swiggy to be AI ready?
Something on our own in-house. We were inspired by Microsoft, Google, Spotify, Uber, etc. You are content and you have clarity that here is something I want to do. Platform teams are great teams to work with.
Alter the user behavior much, they just can pivot.
Here is the prompt I want to use right at this step in the model. Here is what the model that I want to use.
Daily, the metrics changing, the cancellations, the app uninstalls, or let's say the trouble with the delivery partners. Welcome back to another episode of Ignition. This is Varun Pandey, your host, and it's all about AI, product, and you. And today we have someone very special, Mr. Amresh, who's handling AI initiatives as principal product manager at Swiggy. So great to have you, Amresh. How are you feeling?
Hey man, super happy to be here, Varun. I appreciate you guys doing whatever you're doing for this. AI bringing more of this into the world, and especially I think India needed right there. More of this now.
Thank you. We are really lucky because we actually get to what is happening at the cusp of AI with respect to Swiggy, one of the great food delivery startups in India. And thank you for taking out time, sir. I'll just go back to the journey because every product manager, I believe, has a journey. No one gets wakes up one day and gets to know that they are the PM or they're born to be the PM, right? So
Right.
I just want to delve. How did it unfold for you to leading today? The AI initiatives at Snack, at Swiggy as principal product manager, and how did it unfold? Please tell us something about your journey.
Yeah, sure. I think Swiggy has been my home for more than 6.5 years right now. I think I accidentally became a PM. It was never planned per se. So I joined Swiggy's analytics team in 2019. There was a period during which we started building a lot of in-house platforms.
Mm-hmm.
One of such platform was our in-house experimentation platform, where we decided that before we launch any feature, any new process, pricing plans, so on and so forth, that we need to rigorously experiment it out, test it out, and enough statistical significance, enough practical significance, only then we are going to roll out to everyone. So Swiggy was looking at a bunch of external vendors who we thought we can buy, like plug and play, which did not happen. Then we were like, hey, why don't we go ahead, build something on our own in-house, right? We were inspired by work done at Microsoft, Google, Spotify, Uber, etc., who have published a bunch of white papers, etc., saying that hey, here is how you can go build your own experimentation platform, etc. Right? So, and we went ahead, build one, started using it. In fact, we were the first one in Indian startup ecosystem to have an in-house experimental platform. Right? Then we published in a bunch of papers and blogs, etc. Over the years we helped a lot of other fellow startups also to have on their own, right? So that was my introduction to product management, where I was asked by my boss then, saying that hey, here is something we want to we have a bare minimum piece in place, but we want to build it out as a proper platform and make it a horizontal offering across the company. Would you be interested in? And I found that to be a right mix of data, the background that I come in, tech, something that I am curious innately from childhood, in
Mm-hmm.
product, with something that I was just started tinkering with. So I thought that might be a good mix of things for me to get started.
So is it right to say that you're one of the early PMs at Swiggy, considering the span of
Probably.
Swiggy as a startup?
Hey, no, I think Swiggy already had a lot of PMs by the time I got in, but probably I was the early experiment of a platform product manager in Swiggy, because till then was we had a lot of customer facing PMs, growth PMs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think Swiggy started also looking at platforms as products, and then because when you scale as a company, you can have processes holding together when you are a small company, but when you
Mm-hmm.
want to scale up, you need platforms, you need products instead of process, instead of people, instead of SOP documents to hold. I think that's where the change happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? You started realizing that hey, this is a new crop of PMs altogether, meaning the key competencies of a platform PM are way different from a consumer facing PM.
Right.
What you bring to the table, what do you expect from a platform PM are extremely
True.
different from a consumer facing
True.
PM. I
True.
think
True.
that's where my journey as PM and Swiggy's platform PM's journey is also almost coincided.
Would you consider it a bit more, I won't say hard, but a bit more mundane compared to the ones who are actually, dealing with growth or let's say the design part of Swiggy, like to be very candid?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. These are never the spotlight fancy products that you're going to build, right?
Right.
So I think over the years, I had a lot of people I spoke with, asked for my feedback or asked
Mm.
for some insights, whatever. So
Mm.
even in platform PM roles or even platform teams by themselves are generally away from spotlight, meaning you don't directly get involved in fancy features that get launched, fancy products, whatever. But at the same time, there is a lot of very innate satisfaction you're going to get because you're going to touch so many
Right.
teams across, right? So many
Right.
platforms across that you're going to support. So
Mm.
there might
And
be
it's more
very
directly
few.
related to the business part, right? I mean, like the platform and a
uh,
delivery
Correct.
parts, right?
Yeah, but yeah, fair in. And but as I said, we were responsible for experimentation platform, the
Yeah.
machine learning platform now, the Gen
Yeah.
AI tooling that we're building. So there
Right.
are very few features in Swiggy that went live over the last 6 years that our team have not been part of. Right, by default, our team is part of any feature that go live either because of the data platform that we work in, or
Right.
because you do an experiment to launch it, or you're going to build an ML model via our platform,
Right.
or you are going to launch it to a set of customers on our customer segmentation platform, right? So through and through, we live and breathe because of all the programs, features, products we support. I think that's a different type of work and different satisfaction altogether, but requires a different mindset to be content with it when you can see your fellow PMs doing different types of products which are always in spotlight.
Mm.
Say that hey, we bought in X amount of orders, we increased our revenue by some X amount of dollars,
Right.
versus you success metrics will be super different from them, right? So as long as you are content and you have clarity that here is something I want to do,
Mm.
platform teams are great teams to work with.
Mm. So I'm going to throw the first ball over you in your code. With all the buzzword going around AI, what does it exactly mean for Swiggy to be AI ready? With what's happening in the quick commerce and the delivery food space.
Yeah, probably. I think I will take whatever we have already put in public. I think there are two blogs also written, my our CTO and also my previous boss, on
Okay.
what does AI mean for Swiggy. There are currently, if I can almost like condense, there are three different levers that we are looking at.
Mm-hmm.
One is AI productivity in the org itself.
Mm.
Basically, we want all our employees in Swiggy to be AI ready, want to understand their productivity, how do they increase, right? What
Mm.
do they do in the day-to-day life? We
Mm.
want all of them to see that, hey, in your day-to-day life, where can AI pitch in? Where do you guys can leverage AI to either
Mm.
make decisions faster or make
Mm.
decisions more smarter? Right? That's
Mm.
one area of interest for us. Two, we are also looking at AI as a growth lever in itself, meaning recently launched Crew as an offering, which is
Yeah.
thoroughly again supported by AI. And we are also a very early adopter of a lot of AI, features, etc. You would have seen the AI-powered chatbot on Swiggy
Mm.
as of now, so on and so
Yeah.
forth, right? So
Yeah.
even the search that you're going to see, right, is going to be powered by AI going soon, so on and so forth. So
Right.
are trying super hard over
Mm.
the last few years to not just use AI as an accelerator, but also to see if Swiggy were to become an AI native company so that we
Okay.
start thinking AI first, right? So, and three is
Mm.
a cultural shift that's happening within the company, right? So, when you ask a question, one of the question we want people to have when they start going about doing any problem solving or doing any
Mm.
task is that can AI help them in any shape or form? If
Mm.
yes, then unless we found out a very strong reason not to use AI, then we want people
Mm.
to start thinking through. It can be
Mm.
as simple as saying that, hey, I have a simple catalog of Instamart where I want to understand, what are the
Hmm.
images that are not matching with the descriptors, to
Hmm.
as complex as, hey, I want to put up a very super universal embeddings that we want to create to understand how different
Hmm.
the personalization of Varun versus Amresh to be on the app, right? So
Hmm.
across this entire spectrum,
Hmm.
we want everyone to start thinking AI first, right? So it
Hmm.
present, I think Swiggy is also in this journey along with the world. We are also trying to catch up, understand what's happening,
Hmm.
and want to stay ahead of the curve rather than to realize later that, hey, here is some area that we haven't thought through, or so on and so forth, right? So across the board,
Hmm.
we are going all in. So you would keep seeing a lot of this blog posts, white papers, so on and so forth from Swiggy as and
So
it happens.
what for our audience, if you can, without sharing any confidential details, what do you mean by Swiggy is planning to be AI native in the coming
Uh,
time?
Yeah, I think AI native means that. So one of the way that you can think about AI in general with a Swiggy or whatever, even say that, hey, you currently do a task in a certain way. Let's say if
Hmm.
you are an engineer, you want to code a particular, let's say, website or an app or whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
One way to say that, hey, currently this is how I code. Rather, I'm going to use cursor and
Yeah.
ask it to code for me, right, or something like that. But that's almost like you're trying to use AI to assist in whatever you're trying to do,
Yeah.
versus now you build probably a bunch of agents all together who
Hmm.
will do the thinking part for you first, then
Hmm.
convert whatever you want to think has a PRD, then have an
Hmm.
analytics requirement doc, which is your instrumentation for it, then
Hmm.
write the required logging slash instrumentation for it. From there, it goes on to say that, hey, here is my original business problem. Here are my analytics requirement. Here is the instrumentation I need. And here is a front end block of it. Here is the back end piece of it. Here is how I'm going to deploy via some DevOps, and here is how finally it's going to live, so on and so forth. If you are able
Hmm.
to think all of this either entirely powered by AI, or
Hmm.
saying that, hey, the majority of the heavy lifting will be done by AI. So
Hmm.
that's what AI native means for us, meaning you are going to rethink the entire journey itself rather than converting, hey, currently here is how a human were to do it. Now, what is it equivalent in AI, right? That's just being things doing, that's almost like a productivity hack, basically. But instead
Hmm.
of just changing it for productivity, if you rethink that entire journey, saying that, hey, if we were to start today
Hmm.
with all the tech we have, all the new ways of thinking you have, how would that
Hmm.
look like? Is going AI native, either for
So
Swiggy
is
or
it right to say
anyone
that
else?
Swiggy will pivot soon, considering all the data, user data Swiggy has, so it can capitalize a lot on that and maybe find a new business market as well, right?
I think at least I will not comment on behalf of what Swiggy is going to pivot,
No, no,
etc.
obviously. Huh.
But if you see Swiggy Crew as an offering or Swiggy Ping as an offering, so on and so forth, those were exactly what some of the new growth levers that were thought in an AI world probably previously wouldn't have, right? Probably AI crew, etc., required a lot of human heavy lifting, etc., to solve the problem. But
Hmm.
because there is AI, I think we are one of the first people who thought and jumped on it, saying that, hey, what if we not only use AI for just productivity hacks, but
Hmm.
rather rethink an entire business line, which will be support powered by AI, etc. And so I'm saying not just Wiki, a lot of such initiative will come through. I was also
Hmm.
reading about this company called StatSig. It's an experimentation company.
Okay.
So recently, OpenAI acquired them. Right. So far, when people ask about experimentation, it was always
Hmm.
A/B experiments,
Yeah,
people would
yeah,
say,
yeah.
or it go for on-off
Hmm.
experiments,
Hmm.
randomization of
Hmm.
your traffic or
Hmm.
whatever. But in
Hmm.
the new world of AI, it's just
Hmm.
not feature testing of traffic, etc. Rather,
Hmm.
evals become your new holy grail of sorts to understand how is my feature product thinking gone. So those are some of those fundamental shifts that are going to see and you're going to find often, not just productivity hacks that are currently be at least currently the highest adoption you would see is from the engineering world, where metric is how many lines of code were generated using cursor or GitHub Copilot, so on and so forth. But
Right.
sooner we are going to see some fundamental shifts in things that we do as in a problem solving journey itself. You're going to see that, hey, people will start approaching them differently, people will start solving them differently, and the consumers also will start looking at differently, because they will get used to this thing that, hey, I know this is built by AI, maintained by AI, I'm talking to an AI, so on and so forth. So those are some fundamental shifts you're going to see, and just
Hmm.
bringing back the answer to it. And that's how people at Swiggy are also thinking right now, so that we
Hmm.
don't lose on that opportunity on the new world that's coming in, where we don't replace what we are currently doing with AI, but rethink
Hmm.
how do we do this in a new world.
That's going to be very interesting considering Swiggy is already a habit forming product in a lot
Yeah.
of tier 1 city and tier 2 cities. So they don't need to maybe alter the user behavior much. They just can pivot, right? That's going to be very interesting. And so
Yeah.
this experimentation world is full of chaos, fall, you get shot and you get back up and move on with the learnings. So how do you handle AI foundations while also managing speed and scalability as a product
Yeah, I
owner?
think, yeah, that's an very interesting question. I don't think there's a one single straightforward answer, but rather it's a multi-pronged approach, right? We have a short-term solve where we know that, hey, here are those immediate problem statements that you want to solve for, while the long-term answer, when it stabilizes, when you get API, the AI as a commodity in itself and come and solve for you, right? If
Hmm.
you take an example, let's currently we use a bunch of optimizations, right, behind the scenes, or the personalization as a solution that you can use AI for,
Hmm.
where we currently need to unblock our product teams, unlock our data science teams, and we have multiple vendors via which we are going to get the LLMs through which we are going to support these teams, right? So we are not waiting to build what is that infra for that looks like, and build it in house and settle it and ensure that we support both the throughput, latency, a bunch of such requirements. Rather, we are leveraging whatever it is available right away in the market, right? And said that, hey, we need to unblock business first, and here are the existing sources for us to unblock the business team. We are going to do it right away and short
Hmm.
term. At the
Hmm.
same time, we are also working to understand that, hey, now that we understood what such requirements look like, so we are also thinking of either building a bunch of them in house, both in terms of the platform capabilities,
Hmm.
because we have a traditional machine learning platform here in Swiggy,
Hmm.
but we are also now in this migration phase of moving from an ML ops to almost like an AI ops at this point, right? So
Hmm.
a traditional ML ops platform would require a feature store, a runtime, and a place to deploy your models, so on and so forth. But an
Hmm.
AI models currently comes with its own requirements. Let's say you need a sandbox or a playground where you want the product managers to go say that, hey, here is the prompt I want to use, right,
Hmm.
at this step in the model, and here is what the model that I want to use. Let's say you want to understand, if I write a particular prompt, how
Hmm.
does Gemini 2.0 Pro responds to it versus probably any OpenAI family models versus Claude or something, right? So
Hmm.
currently, most of them probably are some Databricks models, Databricks jobs, or whatever. You still require your data and data science folks to go and write the query, give out those evals for you,
Hmm.
versus you build a playground where
Hmm.
on the UI you have your business teams, your prod teams, right, go test out saying that, hey, here is the combination of my prompt and combination of your model output looks like. So
Hmm.
whatever you find that as a product manager, the most reasonable one, you should have the ability to understand the traces of it, meaning how is it changing the entire conversation, and
Hmm.
look at those evals on the data set that you want, and finally go live from that model it on the platform, product, or whatever you want to go, right? So those are some of those long term investments that we are thinking to have.
How do you decide that the frameworks, because everyone is sort of in this era, while building the AI, let's say products for the consumers, is actually figuring out. They don't have any past frameworks. So, do you have any set frameworks in hand as a data AI PM while you're dishing out features, or let's say visualizing features, right, from idea to execution? Do you follow any frameworks as such?
Hey, I don't think, at least there is no super change from the traditional way at which you look at prioritization, etc. It's because it's although the I feel still AI is just a means to end, meaning you're using AI to solve some business problem at the end of the day. Whatever traditional frameworks will still solve for at least 60-70% of prioritization, meaning you still look for what is your highest reach, where do you get the highest impact, what level of confidence you have, the effort it
Mm,
takes, so on and so forth.
mm,
Along with it, you are going to see a bunch of new filters slash signals that you want to capture. Let's say
mm,
when you're trying to use a new particular model, you might also want to understand how does it cost, come into an angle, right? Because unless you have a very clear ROI of moving a traditional solution, let's say a customer support can be a classic example. Everyone in the world was a few years ago saying that, hey, we'll replace entire customer support using AI. But
mm,
unless until you can probably, right? That's not even a very super difficult problem at this point. It is solved at multiple places. But
yeah.
unless you see a thorough and clear ROI by saying that, hey, I'm going to spend so much of money both on the model cost, the maintenance costs, right, and whatever the fine tuning, whatever you need to do and maintain it over the next few years or so on. And
Mm,
unless it's beating, whatever your existing cost by a very long margin,
mm,
probably that's not a great ROI for you. There are some other places for you to invest. So cost is going to be a super additional filter you're going to look at. And
mm,
depending on the use case where you're using, probably ethics on how your AI slash models performs at it is another important,
mm,
which includes a fair usage policy, right? Whether it has any intrinsic bias, either because of the model or the way that you prompt, so on and so forth, will go into one.
mm,
And three is how do you build the fallback slash BCP plans for it? A few months ago, ChatGPT or the family of OpenAI had an outage. So
yeah.
across the world, wherever we had all the solutions built on top of a single family were taken
Mm,
down, right? Because in
okay.
large companies, if you see people who are, let's say, on AWS will have multiple clusters of AWS in
Mm,
different regions of backup plans, right? Let's say in US one goes down, US two will be live, US two goes down, then you have Singapore
mm,
live, so on and so
mm,
forth. But unlike that, at least back then when it happened, we did not have a lot of backup plans. You are using
mm,
all the serving coming from one single LLM family, then it took you down. It took a lot of time to recover because the SLAs there were not as high as you get from a traditional cloud space. So you might want to build what are your backup plans, either when it goes down or when you are not anticipating so much traffic, or
mm,
it introduces a lot of latency into your solution, so on and so forth. Whatever reasons, if it
mm,
goes down, what is your backup plan is probably another feature that we keep very much into our plan. And finally, there's a lot of maintenance that comes with any machine learning or AI models in the first place.
mm,
Meaning, some of them you might use out of the box directly, but
mm,
if there is any fine tuning on the model or some additional work that you do on top of it, you
mm,
need to consistently keep a tab on, hey, how is my model inputs drifting, outputs are drifting, then what you need to do to bring it back again, how do you do keep up the evals regularly on top of it, right, so on and
mm,
so forth, will require a consistent upkeep. So
mm,
along with your traditional frameworks, you might want to also keep a tab on bunch of other things
right.
so that you don't become someone with a hammer and look everything as nail, saying that, hey, I will use AI on this, I will use AI on this. So
Mm,
AI is still, at least in my POV, is still a means to end,
mm.
cannot be that shiny toy that now you're going to use for every single thing that you come across.
Really, really like the clarity in the answer because a lot of B2C teams are really struggling with what's actually relevant for the user and what's just eye candy to be on the platform, right? Yeah, that answer brings really a lot of clarity. So, behind every good feature or AI-based feature that is there on Swiggy, usually there might be a data strong backbone, right? So if you can take us through the data platform that is actually the backbone of all of it.
Yeah, sure. I think it's the same for the traditional ML Gen AI, wherever it's always like, I don't know, the old addendum that says garbage in, garbage out, the
Okay.
equivalent of it. So
Hmm.
even more critical, especially when you work on Gen AI specific models, it can
Hmm.
be as simple as in-house productivity slash important tool like co-pilots, to consumer facing summarization, search changes, the chatbot that you see, so on and so
Mm.
forth. Right? In
Mm.
order for any of these to happen,
Mm.
you need three things in place, right? You need really high quality slash clean data, and you
Mm.
need data metrics platform or equivalent of the late quote unquote ontology layer that we call.
Mm.
And three, finally, a way to serve all of this data at the required latency or have those throughputs requirement, right? So, and finally, how do you do the evaluation, right? Evals is also having the
Mm.
right data set in the right format for
Mm.
you.
Mm.
So at Swiggy, we have a very strong data platform over the years that we have built. That's also a very long journey in where we are. And
Mm.
also to support the Gen AI initiatives, we are also investing heavily into it, right? So,
Mm.
for
Mm.
example, on the metrics piece itself, right? So there are
Mm.
multiple challenges that you see as a company when you're growing up at scale, meaning how do you have a unified
Mm.
definition of one metric?
Mm.
Let's say that we say as metrics as sometimes as simple as cancellations.
Right.
Different teams might have their own definition of what is cancellation. Let's
Mm.
say you are from a growth team. Probably you
Mm.
look at orders that are probably cancelled by
Mm.
the restaurant partners or
Mm.
delivery partners, not by customers,
Mm.
because that's where you feel that hey, here is why a growth path.
Mm.
Similarly, if you are from the customer support team,
Mm.
you will have a different definition of what it's happening. There
Mm.
might be different, if you are from the R&D, the revenue team, probably you say that, hey, I will only look at the orders which are delivered only by Swiggy, but not by 3P, like Domino's does its own delivery on Swiggy, right? So probably I'm not worried about it. Those are definition by itself are different for different teams across the org. And two, when you're again at the scale of Swiggy's and any other company, you will also have a lot of sources of this data in the first place.
Mm.
So team one might be using table one, team two might be using table two, team three might be
Mm.
using some other
Mm.
child table that they have built over the years and their own columns, their own filters
Mm.
on top. Right? Although it looks trivial when you look at
Mm.
it at one metric, one team. Now,
Mm.
if you look at, let's say, at scale of Swiggy, we have hundreds of important metrics that we keep in, day out, and
Mm.
so many teams that keep a tab on it. Imagine the confusion we are going to have if some on says that hey, currently we have X percentage of cancel 3%, let's say, is cancellation today. A different team says no, it's 5%, and another team says that no, it's 6%.
Mm.
So all working in the same company, all looking at the
Mm.
same metric, but all of us have our own truths, right? But
Mm.
ultimately, you as a company need to come
Mm.
up and say that hey, here is my definition of a metric. Here
Mm.
is the source of the truth, and here is the way that I'm going
Mm.
to compute and serve this metric across the board. All right,
Mm.
because once the source of truth is different, it can impact right from product prioritization to
Mm.
the decisions that you're going to take
Mm.
versus what finally reaches the customer because of the tinkering that you do, looking at hey, probably the cancellation is 6%, which I feel is super high, hence I'm going to launch some feature, versus someone look at it and saying that hey, cancellation is 3%, so I'm not going to break my head about it today, right? So you
Mm.
need to have this unified one single platform where you discover a metric, you
Mm.
understand the source of truth of where it's coming, the logic's a filter of it, and
Mm.
you're going to serve everyone, whether it's an dashboard built by an analyst, or whether it's a PM asking it via some GenAI co-pilot, or whether it's an WBR, the weekly business reviews, monthly previous review that goes to your leadership. Doesn't
Mm.
matter, different hierarchy, different needs, etc. You still need to have that one single source of truth, which
Mm.
will become the thread that's going to tie everyone across, right? So that's your
Mm.
one. Then you need to also understand when you are heavy into ML, AI, any such platforms, we also need to understand what is the lineage of it. Meaning, let's say you built out, you have thousands of tables which are
Mm.
flowing in, bringing data from multiple sources, etc. You
Right.
want to understand how is this metric slash signal even built from? Meaning, what is the source of this data?
Mm.
And two, what are the computations happening on top of this data? And two, finally, who is consuming this data at the end of the day? Let's say,
Mm.
as currently we have Swiggy One as a offering today. Let's
Mm.
say in midst of some of this data platform, somewhere you find out a flag against the customer ID that says whether you are a Swiggy one customer or not. Now,
Mm.
for me, let's say I'm building a Gen AI model, let's say for our customer support team, where
Mm.
you are going to have a differential experience if you are a Swiggy one customer or a Swiggy black customer. So
Mm.
the team that's going to build this particular Gen AI model now needs to know what is a trustable slash reliable source of truth for this signal. When a customer enters into the chat, the model needs to understand whether this customer is a Swiggy one customer. If yes, then refer to these SOPs, these prompts, and give such response. So now
Mm.
you need to understand where does this signal lie,
Mm.
and to support this signal, right? Which particular source I need to look through. And
Mm.
for the team that is offering this, they need to know who is consuming. Let's say
Mm.
tomorrow, instead of Swiggy One, Swiggy Black, I gave a new offering. So
Mm.
now, for me to make that change to the source of truth, I need to
Mm.
know who are the consumers of my signal, right? So
Okay. Okay.
whether you are someone who are consuming the signal
Mm.
or someone who are
Mm.
producing the signal, you need
Mm.
to know on the both the sides, right? That hey, here
Mm.
is a reliable signal, and two, I need to know who is consuming my reliable signal, right? So
Mm.
that when you build any product, especially in a Gen AI world,
Mm.
you need to have that absolute clarity, because the moment
Mm.
you give some wrong signal or signal you don't have understanding of, you don't
Mm.
know what goes into it, and basis which you don't know what the prompt will turn out to be and what the response of it turn out to be, and you
Mm.
don't put that product feature into the hands of customers on which you have absolutely not 100% control on. There's very
Mm.
few things that you can control.
A lot of us PMs who actually interview, give interviews, usually company like Swiggy, Flipkart are usually case study questions who are asked, especially when it comes to external factors affecting PMs and how would
Right.
you react? So is it in reality, is it that chaotic according to you? Like, and I mean, like being a PM at such a big B2C, a massive product like Swiggy, the external factors do trouble you. I mean, like, when I say trouble, in the back of the mind, daily, the metrics changing, the cancellations, the app uninstalls, or let's say the trouble with the delivery partners. Are they such, big of a thing? Or, I mean, like, are they just exaggerated in our case study
No,
questions,
and
according to you?
I know for a fact, because I was in the data whatever analytics background before I moved into this role.
Yeah.
Those are facts of reality. And of course, as you have a more mature product, right, and
Mm.
mature features, and you're going to have a very strong pipeline, both on terms of your engineering, your data pipeline, etc. Hence, they
Mm.
will become more trustworthy. Then you know where to look at, and you will also get an heuristic understanding of things. But imagine that you are building an AI feature for the first time. I will take a very simple example that everyone understands, is like customer support, right? Now you
Mm.
have built, launched it. Now you are the PM responsible for it. You looked at next day morning.
Mm.
Let's say for a regular customer support, what are the success metrics you look at? One is how happy customers are with the resolution that you're giving, what we call in the CX world the CSAT, right? Customer
Yeah.
satisfaction
Yeah.
score. To the average handling time of it, right? In an AI world, probably that translates to the latency at which your model responds to it.
Mm.
And three, probably the tone slash the language of the model that you're getting it.
Right.
Now, step one for you to even understand whether
Mm.
an AI CSAT of 40% is good, bad, ugly. How do you know? Unless you know that, hey, what is my previous historical benchmark?
Mm. Right.
Then a bot, which is a rule-based bot, if a rule-based bot responds and you have over a period of time, it's 40%, meaning if there are 100 chats, 40
Mm.
customers are saying that we are happy with the bot, there are still 60% saying that we are unhappy.
Mm.
Versus it goes to a human, probably it goes about 60, 70%. Now, how do you call whether your AI bot success or not? If it says, let's say
Mm.
50%. So now, unless you have this strong foundation in the data that says that, hey, I have experimented over multiple types of responses slash solutions, it
Mm.
stands somewhere between 60 and 40 somewhere. Now my AI bot is giving either on par with it or better. Now I'm good. Similarly, if you go to other metric, let's say you want to measure something more qualitative now, the tone
Mm.
of your AI model, the language at which it's using. So
Mm.
again, to have a very strong data pipeline that gives you that entire conversation of text. Then you will have some evals on top of it, which measures go through a chat. Now your existing human agents already will have an SOP that they follow, so that you get a very polished response from them. Now you can probably use that as a benchmark, saying that, hey, if a human were to respond, this is how he would have started with a greeting, saying that, thanks for joining in. We are really sorry for what happened XYZ. And here's
Because
how he
any
would have.
disappointment in the experience straight away goes to the Twitter, right? For
Yeah,
Swiggy.
exactly. Everyone is just one
And
screenshot away from
yeah,
going
even
Twitter saying that,
even
hey,
even when the food, I mean, like, let's say, even when the food taste is bad, now that on that note, Swiggy is not responsible, but Swiggy still is responsible on Twitter, right? And you would
yeah,
have to reply, or let's say you would have to refund in most cases,
yeah, there's
right?
no absconding from the, I don't know, whatever it is. We are all
But but
in
but
middle.
but let's say, even if we consider something at scale, this trouble at scale, then PM would be starting, PM would have sleepless nights, right? Although does not own that particular problem or metric, it's not in his hand, or let's say in the platform's hand, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you would have seen Google have, again, I didn't know firsthand, but I read it that Google have started a vibe coding round now for their PMs to
Yeah.
join. So, how would you do that? How would you vibe code? It's not the set of prompts that you give on Lovable or some
Yeah.
bold.new to say that here is my product. Rather, you also need some synthetic data to show
Mm.
whatever you feature you have built.
Mm.
Unless you have a real thorough understanding of what the data of that new product, new feature you're going to build should
Mm.
look like. Basically, because same, I will take back to the interview, whatever you want to solve. Any interview that you go, right, you're always
Mm.
going to say that, hey, here are my success metrics, here are my check metrics.
Yeah.
But in order for you to measure that success and check metrics, you need some event, some instrumentation for you to happen. Right? In the AI world, not only you can get the success metric, but you can now have the luxury of generating the synthetic data to go beyond a regular wireframes of sorts to build that feature or the product, whatever you want to build, and capture those instrumentation and show it to in your case study, saying that, hey, here is a variety of data or a variety of customers, variety of orders or events that can happen,
Mm.
basis which you can simulate as close to as real life. Once you have that understanding, it makes your life very easy as a PM when you actually build real time examples, because you
Mm.
are expected to lead a bunch of teams including the data teams without actually making them report to you, right? That's a soft power you bring as a PM to the company that you work with.
Mm.
Either you have a deep understanding of product or you become
Mm.
super dependent on your data teams and say yes to whatever they bring it to you.
True.
So yeah, that's going to be a new world, especially in the AI, whatever products, etc. that will
And
come.
in the AI world, which is evolving too fast, there would be a huge dilemma as a PM on what to build and what to buy, right?
Yeah.
For the sake of our audience, I'll just explain what build versus buy means. It means that when a PM decides what to build internally as a company, as a product with the developers and the team, and what to, let's say, outsource to a third party. Coming back to the question, how do you believe, with the speed which with the things are happening? I'm sure you might be facing this. So how do you take the decision, with its core of the capabilities that a tool has to offer?
Yeah, again, I feel there were never a very straightforward answer to it, but there are some,
Mm.
whatever reasons or frameworks that you can always use, like any PM, whether it's AI or not, but especially in AI world.
Mm.
One, you want to look at whether that's a core competency that you are adding slash building to the organization that you are part of. Let's say if you were working in Swiggy, then the
Mm.
first thing you have to look at, saying that, hey, is this a core competency? Is this going to be a difference maker for Swiggy? Is it adding to my moat? Then that is something that you really want to
Mm.
hold very close to your chest and want to keep
Mm.
all the building improvements next steps to you. Two, if you feel that, hey, here is something that can fasten something that you are building, can
Mm.
be an additional accelerator or whatever thing that you can add value, but
Mm.
still it's not a core offering, then those are some of the areas you might want to look at. Hey, this is something that is important for us, but something not doesn't fit into my overall strategy as a differentiator or something, then you might want to get into that.
Hmm.
Right, an example
Can
for
you
that
give a
can
contextual example? Yeah.
right. The example can for the support offering that we built. There are
Hmm.
companies who can build the chatbot for you, ready-made, plug and play, so on and so forth, give you. But
Hmm.
they will never ever understand the complexity of Swiggy's and the nuances that we bring in solving it, right? Because over the years we have built this
Hmm.
in-house,
True, true,
right?
true,
So
true,
we
true, true.
have thorough understanding of what a customer wants at any point of time and the level of customization we want to
Also,
make
the
and
knowledge transfer would be very messy
uh,
for you to give it to a third party, right? Explain the
exactly.
context.
So,
Huh.
yeah, those are, and there's a lot of maintenance. It's not just build and leave it, right? So we are going to keep improving it over the time, new offering comes, etc. So we probably might not want to buy somewhere and do a plug and play. Versus,
Hmm.
let's say, the evals piece of it or the playground of when you build an AI model, so on and so forth. Those are not core offerings of Swiggy as a product or a company. So
Hmm.
those are the areas we want to say that, hey, this is something that we need immediately, right?
Hmm.
Because that will unblock a lot of production models for us to go live. So we are looking at companies who can produce, give that as an offering. We would want to rather use 3P, solutions within our existing ecosystem. We'll give product managers that playground where you can go type your prompts, look at different evals, and figure out what to go live, what to no go, not to go live. Those are not core offerings of us as a company. There are other areas where we would want to invest and build on it. So that those are something we might outsource and work with. Similarly, along with this strategic fit or not, you might also want to look at the quality at which that you are going to, the quality of the product that you are going to buy or build, and also the reliability, especially because there are new crop of product solutions companies coming up now. You want to understand and take a measure of, hey, can this product be a part of my production, right? Because
Hmm.
you already have a lot of moving parts, meaning you're going to, let's say, an example, simple example of, you built one ML model that predicts the delivery times of the delivery partners now.
Hmm.
There is some data scientist who wrote that code. We are going
Hmm.
to deploy that in somewhere, then there is going to serve it to again a bunch of services who are finally going to use it to show the delivery time. So you're
Hmm.
already part of some cloud service, whether it's AWS or GCP or something, right? So you have those moving parts, and you have where you actually build it, or some Python libraries that you're going to use, so on and so forth, right? So you have existing moving parts you need to always take care of. Now you're saying that, hey, in this production path which needs to have uptime of 100%, you are going to add another new moving part. So you need to be
Hmm.
absolutely sure that, hey, because this is new, offering new product which was not time tested now, so you
Hmm.
need to be 100% sure that, hey, here is something that is something that can test the
Hmm.
your existing production path and still be available.
Hmm.
Similarly, you are going to look at the complexity of integration of that particular product or feature, right?
Hmm.
You don't want to introduce a lot of new complexity, because it means that you also need to maintain it, you know, in your production. And finally, you also want to look at the cost versus ROI of it, right? You want
Hmm.
to, and this is the same whatever prioritization we discussed even previously. So ultimately, all of it boils down whether are you getting enough ROI out of it for the amount of money, time, resource that you need to put in. So
Hmm.
if yes, then we are going to prove it. Because of AI, the new path of ethics, the privacy, a bunch of these things come into picture, right? So
Hmm.
probably it was not really a big part of traditional solution that you built unless they are into those angles.
Hmm.
But because you used AI now, you want to ensure that you will never be caught responsible for violating any of those things, right? So as a PM who is responsible for solution,
Hmm.
this might not be the core part of solution, yet is
Hmm.
going to be super important factors that you need to keep in mind, whether you solve either during your interviews or even in real world. You need to be aware of how are you going to
Hmm.
handle those things.
So, as a PM who's at the cusp of AI experimentation, I'm sure you might have burned your fingers a lot of times. And usually, there's one lesson every PM has, one hard lesson in his life, which sticks to him. If you can share something which actually burnt your fingers a lot, that you stick it by as a rule on your chest, would be great to hear. And at the same time, also discussing what are the key challenges you are facing the food delivery or quick commerce space with regards to developing the AI features.
Understood. I think I'm going to answer both probably in the same way. One of the things that was a big learning, again, I said there is a really good blog post published by Swiggy
Acha.
called Our Journey with Swiggy in the last 1 year, title something of similar on Swiggy Bites. So one of that was along with the world, we too wanted to, be AI ready or whatever you want to call it, and say that we are going to push AI heavily, say that hey, we're going to solve everything, whatever, right? Then almost we're trying to overdo on that front. Where, like, let's go because we have AI, we'll solve it, right? Was one of the, I don't know, was never meant to be that, but it became at some point. Now that
Mm.
you have a shiny toy, let's go solve for it, right? Whether it was needed to be solved via AI or does even AI needs to be there? We're like, because we have an AI, we can do bunch of things which earlier were not done. So why not give it a shot, etc. So that was a very good learning. Basically, we again took a step back. Again, the whole reason for that push that happened was we didn't want to be caught, with surprise that hey, someone else would have solved something. We didn't. It should not be for the lack of trying, etc.
Mm.
But the outcome of it was also super helpful for Swiggy at this point. We have
Mm.
a core central AI team now, for which I'm the product counterpart of it. We have a data science counterpart. We have an engineering counterpart, so on and so forth now. Now the philosophy is different. Few things which we want to do centrally drive thing like cultural shift, or we want to build a bunch of things for our productivity of our employees, so on and so forth, which we want to build centrally. But at the
Mm.
same time, because of the work we have done over the last 1 year or so, that we were able to decentralize AI, meaning we gave enough understanding for individual teams. We built enough support for individual teams to decide whether this is something they need AI to solve or not. If
Mm.
yes, how they were to going to solve it and what help do they need to solve it. We are there to support it. So currently, it became so organic that if there is a problem to be solved, teams by themselves think, hey, can AI solve it? If yes, they are going to take decisions within the team where you have domain experts, you have people who have a lot of skin in the game, and they decide and they need help. We come to us, we are going to solve it. But if you take a step back in a previous world, because every team have their own priorities and own set of resourcing they require, own way of GTM slash or go to live, right? Go to market, how do they bring it live, etc. If we try to say that hey, here is one silver bullet that's going to solve all the problems in one single way, then it's not going to solve. So that's one key learning I saw, not only with us, a bunch of other companies who did that, saying that hey, this is the magic wand, right? You wave at problems, AI is going to solve miraculously a bunch of things.
Yeah.
It did not. Rather, it introduced some new problems for a lot of companies that I know. But what it helped is all the companies, teams, whatever, they got a reality check too, saying that AI is not like a magical whatever tool that you do. But when deployed judiciously, and when you have done your due diligence, and at the end of the due diligence, you have the answer that here is where AI makes sense, here is the ROI I'm going to getting because I use AI, then those products, those features, those solutions are going to be way different, way faster, way smarter than a traditional solve.
More or less,
So,
sir, I guess more the things would be always revolving around the traditional principles only, right? Because
yeah,
if I talk, I am a loyal Swiggy user. Because and initially, as we all know, Swiggy was, compared to its competitor, was preferred more before because of its UX. Right. And even when I used to initially use Swiggy, I used to compare, yeah, this is much more simpler UX and this is facilitating my user flows. And I still stick to it, right? So I feel
exactly.
even 5 to 10 years down the line, however evolved the AI becomes, the traditional things that actually are relevant to users will still be the same, right? And I'm still using Swiggy.
Glad to hear
Now,
that.
sir, yeah.
I'm saying some the problems might remain the same, but you want to also, I think, see a bunch of shifts also, meaning user requirements also might change. I don't know. This is one example that I found out even myself doing when I recently went out of India, bunch of places.
Hmm.
I stopped in it, what we call as Googling. Basically, I did not Google the places I want to go.
Okay.
Rather, I was opening Instagram, and
Okay.
on Instagram, I'm looking for the location,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I found out where people are going for,
Mhm.
because I know that, hey, a lot of people would have done that due diligence and found out here are the places to go with the pictures, etc. Or on Snapchat, for that matter, I look at the maps, I see where people are, the hotspots, etc. One and two, when I was in Europe, in Switzerland, I found a bunch of bus stops where things are written Swiss German. Then the traditional way is what, take a picture, then go to Google, ask it to translate what it happens, etc. Versus ChatGPT, I found to do is lot better job, right? Because not only it translates, if you, one of the beautiful thing about ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc., you get the follow-up questions already written there. You don't have to again ask those
Should I
questions.
do this? Should I do that?
Also want me to do X, do you want me to do Y, so on and so forth. Like, those are like beautiful editions by some well thought through product manager, right? That's what makes you sticky go through.
Mm.
So in those sense, you might see those changes, right? It can go as far as, instead of you ordering food by opening one app, or by or going to Amazon to order something, you might at some point in have your own personal AI assistant, where
Mm.
you say, right, get me a Mokobara bag or something. It
Mm.
will go through all the platforms, identify where it's faster, where it's cheaper, where the credit cards
Already AEO is
have
taking over the SEO, right? People are, I mean, like,
called
I'll go
AEO
onto the
now.
net, Google and search, right? AEO is going to take up, it's going to show up all the links, all the resources to me on the chat GPT itself. So that's going to be a huge, huge alteration in user behavior soon, I'm
Yeah, yeah.
assuming.
There's
And
a good, I don't know if you follow Lenny's newsletter. Last
yeah,
week
I
had
do.
called AEO, right? The equivalent of SEO. So
Yeah.
yeah, they
Lenny does this
beautifully
too, right?
explained what it looks like. Yeah.
I watch his podcast too. Great, great one. So moving on to the last question, a lot of aspiring PMs and people who want to grow as a PM and probably would want to work at the level you are working right now, the projects and the position you are right now. Any three piece of advices with regards to the fast evolving world of AI as a builder, as a product manager who's aspiring to be in this field, or let's say to your younger self, if you had come today, fresh out of the job market, fresh out
Yeah.
of the college in the job market, what would be your key three advices?
I think one keep of advice that I got from my mentor when I was trying to do, because before I got into this tech world, or what you want to call it, I worked as a civil site engineer. Then
Mm.
I did sales and marketing. This was back in 2015, right, when the world of Coursera's, etc., were getting started. And there was one analytics course which I wanted to do. It was called a nano degree or something. But I felt that because I did my bachelor's in civil engineering, I thought probably it's too late for me, because I already worked 3 years into an industry, for me to switch into quote unquote the technical world. But I was glad that I had a good mentor who's always used to say that it was never too late to get into anything, right? All you need to do is, if you really believe this is something you want to do, it is never too late to do anything. So even in the AI world, if you feel that you are slightly late to the party,
Mm.
or you feel that you're not from a technical background, I don't know how to code, AI looks like jargon for me, or people are saying a lot of fancy stuff in all the newsletters, LinkedIn, etc., use big, throw big
Too
words
much
at you,
noise. Yeah.
right? So I would say you're never too late to do whatever you want to do. There is always enough opportunities available. All you need to do is figure out what you want to do, how do you want to do, start somewhere, right? Versus worrying about what happens at the end of day 365. So that is something that I took, and after almost a year of working on that, got me wherever I wanted to go. That's one. Two is get your hands dirty. At least one of the reasons was I failed multiple times on completing this Coursera projects, etc. When I used to start with the Python course, Python 101 or something, they always go to the dicts, the lists, and the first two, three programs itself. They're like, this is, I don't see the practical value of it, the learning of theory. But where it changed for me when I started picking some Kaggle data sets, I said,
Mm.
like, screw theory. I'm just going to just download those Jupyter notebooks. run it for the sake of running it, and I saw a good matplotlib chat or something, then I said like, now it makes sense, now I understand the business outcomes of it. So probably even the same equivalent in AI world, don't worry about what the worlds of LLMs, SLMs, the feature engineering, prompt engineering, or whatever context engineering, what it's called right now. Don't worry about what those fancy terms look like. Get your hands dirty, start somewhere, get on to simpler programs, whatever, start doing it. But once you get a look at the outcomes of it, then you're going to feel that I made progress this week. That's going to encourage you to go to the next week.
So
And
do you
three, if
suggest
you're
building a prototype and maybe showcasing it in the projects while applying for the AIPM kind of roles? Do you suggest that? Like, let's say
yeah,
if someone is applying
yeah,
under you,
definitely.
what would you, let's say, what makes him separate from the other applicants for you while
Yeah,
hiring?
yeah, sure. We recently even hired two PMs under my role who are now what we quote unquote call as AI PMs.
Okay.
So both of them had we didn't do the traditional way of interviewing. Rather, we gave them a case study, gave them 3, 4 days of time, so that I go build a working prototype for me, which should work when I at scale of Swiggy, whatever XYZ. But we didn't want them to have production grade ready, but we wanted to see the thought process of how one translates a problem statement into a problem, into a product, and what is their current level of understanding in
Hmm.
terms of the latest offerings that we have on AI right now, etc. So I would
Hmm.
say, if you are an aspiring PM who wants to get into the AI world, please by all means go build stuff, get your hands dirty. And the third piece again I want to close with is, if you can go to any hackathons, multiple of them happen every week across Bangalore. So by all
As,
means,
as a
go there.
PM.
Yeah, yeah. By all means, please go do as many hackathons or whatever you want to do possible.
Hmm.
Reason one, it's going to decomplexify a bunch of things right now for you, right? And two, you're going to run into really great people, because I feel we still don't have a playbook on how to hire a good AI PM or whatever. So
Hmm.
the chances of you getting that introduction, getting a shot at an interview will be far, far great if you can go to those hackathons, conferences, meetings, etc. That itself signals a lot of your intent for me, saying that, hey, here is someone who is putting those time and effort to
Hmm.
do this, be ahead of the curve, learn, and super important, because this is still a very evolving space, right? No one
Hmm.
can say that, hey, I know everything about
I
AI,
know
how it
everything.
works,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. At the
Yeah.
heart of it, we are looking for someone who is curious
Hmm.
and who can spend a lot of time to stay ahead of the curve, and
Hmm.
can add that value to the team by saying that, hey, here is how I'm thinking new about solving the problem, bring me the fresh set of eyes, etc. So these would be probably my
Hmm.
top three things that I can say for myself, if I were to talk to myself like few years
And sir, are those PM which you hired were experienced ones or like were they freshers?
No, I think a couple of years, but yeah, not really like super experienced PM, but they were super fresh into PM world. One of them is not even a PM per se, but who
Hmm.
had the heart to and shown us the right intent and curiosity, say that here is what it takes for him slash her to become a PM. So that's what we are looking for at this point.
Well, that's pretty much answers all my questions, sir, and thanks for answering them very insightfully and very delightfully. So, I'm really thankful for your time on a weekend. I know you have been rushing into meetings and a lot of your stuff, personal stuff as well. Well, thanks for that, and thanks for hope you also had a good time.